All right, guys, I'm in the backyard, and one of the things that I want to show you with this turf project is this. These are PVC boards, and they're not cheap. They cost a decent amount of money, and we've got probably about 120 feet of these PVC boards. But the cool thing is we're going to use these as a nailer board going around the edge. This is what's going to allow us to have nice curves and rounded corners, but they have big dogs, and a lot of times when the turf ends, companies will spike them down, say every 12 inches around the perimeter. Maybe not use some sort of steel edging or rock edging. Rock edging can get kind of pricey too. But with these nailer boards, it allows me to take the turf and actually fold it over the edge of the nailer board. Then we come back in with a pneumatic staple gun. It's going to put in a 2-inch galvanized staple, and we can just pop it. Pop, and it adheres that to that edge. I mean, there is no dog that we have found yet, giant German Shepherds, boxers, that have been able to pull it up or have given it even that much interest. But let me show you the backyard here. Boom, that's what we're looking at. So we've got about 2,000 square feet of turf here. This 2,000 square feet of turf is going to follow the perimeter edge of this retaining wall. This is sloping downhill. We're going to bring it right up. I got to show you these staircases because they're really cool how this all comes together and ends up looking. So we're going to bring it right up to the edge of this first stair, and we're going to probably raise our elevation at that stair. One of the things we're trying to do is push water away from this area, so our turf elevation may come in close to the top of this stair when we are all said and done, and then it continues to slope downward towards the top of this retaining wall. Now, I had a choice that I had to make, and that's whether to take this turf all the way to the retaining wall or whether I was going to stop short, because remember, if I've got artificial turf, I have to make a notch around every single one of these posts. By the way, these vines, they're coming out. I'd have to make a notch around every single post. Every time we make a notch, it's going to leave a seam on the opposite sides, a seam like that big. Every single place there's a post. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to run a nice consistent nailer board all the way around the edge. That's what we're going to do. So it looks like we're going to stay about 12 to 18 inches. We haven't made that final decision yet, about 12 to 18 inches off of this fence, and put our nailer boards in so we can put the turf right up to that and keep a consistent distance from the fence to the edge of the turf, following this curve all the way around, and they can come back in maybe with some nice dwarf boxwoods, dwarf gardenia, something like that, to plant in that area. But here's the tricky part, and you go through this iteration several times throughout the project. Of course, we do this at the beginning, but we also do it during the job to make sure our turf roll's going correctly. Turf rolls come 15 feet wide, and we order them by their cut length. So what I've had to do is I've had to measure from the fence. I begin here, and I come out this way into the yard, and I count 15 feet, 15 feet, 15 feet, and then I measure the length. How long does that roll? So in this case, I've got a 55-foot roll, a 44-foot roll, a 36-foot roll, and a 25-foot roll. Why? Because this wall tapers in. So by the time I get to the top, I only need 25 feet of length. Every 15 feet, I've got 15, 30, 45, 60. This whole width of this yard is about 55. 55 feet. It tells me on that last roll I'm going to have about 5 feet left over. That's my 25-foot roll. I'll have a 5-foot by 25-foot long roll left over. Here's the tricky part. Look at this. When I turn, this wall is not straight. Not even close to being straight. You see the bow in this wall, how this curves? Well, I got to fit a rectangle on top of that bow. So basically, over here is where I've got to put my first rectangle, which leaves me this big section back here. So it's all about optimization. I've got to make sure these rectangles fit in here correctly so I don't get to the end of this job and realize that I've got one area that is completely filled down to this little triangle wedge that I have to try to seam in. Somewhere in this job, I probably got to seam in a triangle. Right now, my hunch, my instinct, my experience is telling me it's going to end up being in that back corner. But what my foreman and I are about to do, well, first we're going to move our trucks out of the driveway because I have a truckload of Crusher Run. It's about to be here any time now. So we've got 17 tons of Crusher Run being delivered. Later this afternoon, we'll have another 17. We're using 2 trucks, about 34 tons of Crusher Run. So I'm going to move my truck, and then we're going to come back here and we're going to start pulling string lines and shooting lasers, where we have to be dead on exact with this. If we get this part wrong, we could screw up the whole job. Once you cut artificial turf into a shape, you cannot add it back in. Well, you can, and I've seen it, people try to do it, but it looks really, really ugly. So this is a part. A lot of times I move fast and I look at jobs, and I'm like, oh yeah, we need 3 of that, 4 of this, or that. Not this part. This is a part where I slow down, take a deep breath, make sure I've gone to the bathroom, because we're gonna be here a while measuring and laying things out. We get this part right, the rest of the job goes perfect, and in about 2-3 days we're gonna be completely done. Homeowner's gonna be happy, and this place is gonna look awesome. So we're gonna show all that to you later on, but I hope you've enjoyed this part of the video.